For years, I held on. To people, to moments, to versions of myself I thought I couldn't survive losing, because letting go felt like admitting defeat. Then one winter morning, I watched a bare tree standing quietly in the cold, no leaves, no apology, and a single line from the Buddha stopped me. Nothing is lost that was never yours to keep. Something loosened in my chest that I didn't know was tight. Today, that same line is for you. It was a night near the end of autumn. Outside a small hermitage nestled among bamboo, a single leaf let go, without a sound, without ceremony, the kind of moment no one notices. The moon was out, not full, just slightly past its peak, the right edge gently worn away. In the cold air, its light fell softly across the bamboo leaves, barely illuminating them. Inside the hermitage, a handful of disciples sat in silence. No one spoke, but each of them seemed to be carrying something unspoken, pressing quietly against the chest. That night, one young disciple slowly rose to his feet. He slipped outside and stood there looking up at the waning moon, very still. He did not pray, he did not think. He simply let the cold enter him, the way water enters cracked earth, until at some point, without his quite knowing when, the thing pressing against his chest had loosened, like a knot whose moment had finally come. He returned to his seat before dawn, and no one asked where he had been. But when the others looked at his face in the pale morning light, something in them quietly shifted, the way a room changes when a window is opened, even a little. Let us call this disciple Nanda. Nanda had not been a monk for long. Back in his home village, there was a friend he had grown up with, someone who had fished the same river with him, who had sheltered with him under the same roof when the rains came. They had been that kind of close. But on the day Nanda left to become a monk, they parted ways. His friend wept. Nanda wept. That had been 3 years ago. Now he stood outside on a bed of fallen leaves, alone, looking up at the moon. Something in his presence must have reached the Buddha, who came quietly and stood beside him. "What are you looking at?" the Buddha asked. His voice carried no judgment, no instruction. It simply dissolved into the night air. "The moon," Nanda answered. "It seemed full not long ago, but tonight it looks as though it has lost a little of itself since yesterday." The Buddha looked up at the same moon. The two of them stood together in silence for a while. Then Nanda said, quietly, "Why does the moon grow full at all if it is only going to wane again? Why not simply stay?" Before answering, the Buddha drew a long, slow breath. "Nanda, the moon does not choose to wane, it does not choose to wax. It is simply moving, between the earth, the sun, and itself, within a web of relationships, appearing to us the way it does. Then, does the moon feel nothing? That is not what I am saying. Only this, the moon does not cling to its own shape. That is all." Those words dropped into Nanda's chest, like a stone falling into still water. He was quiet for a moment. Then in a lower voice, "I was thinking about my friend from home. I kept wishing things could have stayed the way they were. I still think that sometimes, even now." The Buddha nodded gently. He did not disagree, he only continued. "Those days with your friend were real. The river was cold, you heard the sound of rain on the roof. None of that is gone. But Nanda, when we try to hold a moment in place, to keep it exactly as it was, we begin to suffer. It is like the full moon trying to nail itself to the sky, refusing to move. But isn't it sad that things change?" The Buddha lowered his eyes to the ground. There, beneath their feet, layers of fallen leaves had gathered. "Does it sadden you that this leaf fell?" Nanda had no answer. The tree releases its leaves, but it does not die. Come spring, new buds will appear. Because the leaf let go, there is now space for something new to grow. Releasing makes room. Everything moves within that kind of connection. Nanda stared at the fallen leaves, dry, brown, ordinary, and yet, in that moment, they began to look different to him. Not like endings, more like something in the middle of a longer story. "Does the moon wane so that it can grow full again?" The Buddha paused before answering. "It does not wane in order to grow full, nor grow full in order to wane. Whether you find that beautiful or frightening depends entirely on the one who is watching." Nanda looked up at the moon once more. The same waning moon, but somehow, it seemed a little calmer than before. He couldn't quite say why, only that something in his chest, Something that had been pulled tight had softened just slightly. They stood there together for a while longer, side by side, watching. Somewhere deeper in the bamboo grove, another leaf let go and fell without a sound. Then a breeze moved through the grove, not enough to stir the leaves on the ground, only enough to be felt. Nanda noticed that he had stopped counting the days since he had last seen his friend, and could not remember exactly when that had happened. The moon continued on its way, indifferent and unhurried, as it had on every other night he had ever lived through. There are moments when watching the moon wane feels like grief. When the blossoms fall, when someone we love walks away, when we notice slowly that our own body is not quite the same as it was yesterday. In those moments we tell ourselves, change is painful. But is that really what's happening? The moon was already waning yesterday. The tree was already dropping leaves last autumn. The river has not held the same water in the same place for a single moment. None of this is new. The fact that everything is always changing, that has always been true. So what exactly is hurting? Not the change itself. What hurts is the wish that things wouldn't. Please don't change. The full moon should look like this tomorrow and the day after. That relationship should stay exactly as it was. The version of me that existed yesterday should still be here today. When that wish, that should, collides with the reality of change, that collision is where the suffering lives. The world didn't hurt us by changing. We hurt ourselves by holding the world still in our hands. This is not a criticism. Holding on is deeply human. The more we love something, the less we want to let it go. That grip is, in its own way, proof of how fully we have lived. But it helps to see clearly, the grip itself is what creates the condition for suffering. Let's go a little deeper. Most of us carry a quiet assumption that the self is something relatively fixed, that the person who woke up yesterday and the person reading this now are essentially the same person. But are we? The cells in our body are constantly being replaced. The feeling we had yesterday has already shifted. Something we believed deeply last year can look different by this year. What we call I may be less like a solid object and more like a river, always replacing itself, always in motion, only appearing continuous. The moon looks the way it does because of its relationship with the earth and the sun. The moon itself isn't changing, it's the relationship that creates the appearance. In the same way, the self we think of as fixed may be something that arises moment by moment from the web of everything around us. Not a stable me who encounters change, but a form that is constantly taking shape within the flow of relationship. From that perspective, the fear of change starts to look a little different. Something doesn't disappear, it changes form. It doesn't end, it connects to what comes next. A fallen leaf returns to soil and feeds the roots of the tree. A waning moon will be full again. This is not loss, it is continuity of a different kind. Buddhism teaches that all things are impermanent, but this is not a lesson in getting used to change. It is pointing at something else entirely. When we stop searching for the thing that never changes, what is actually here, right now, becomes visible for the first time. Eyes fixed on chasing the full moon will never notice the quiet beauty of the crescent. But once you understand that every phase is still the moon, the night sky begins to look different. A grandmother once told her granddaughter, on the night before the girl left for a distant city, "I'm not losing you, you're just becoming someone I haven't met yet." The girl didn't understand it then. Years later, holding her own child for the first time, she did. What the grandmother gave her wasn't comfort, it was a different pair of eyes. So how does this land in the middle of an ordinary life? Think about what it feels like when a role you've held for years comes to an end. Leaving a job you gave decades to. Reaching retirement. Watching a title or position disappear. Or finding that the company itself no longer exists. In moments like these, a deep sense of loss can rise up from somewhere we didn't expect. I want to go back to how it was. I wish I could have stayed in that role. But here's a question worth sitting with. What exactly did I lose? A title, a place to belong, or perhaps the version of yourself that existed inside that role? Because maybe what changed wasn't you. Maybe it was a particular shape of you, the one that appeared within that specific set of relationships and responsibilities. And if that shape has shifted, perhaps a different shape is already beginning to emerge. The moon changes form but remains the moon. And if that's true, then loss might be the wrong word for what you're experiencing. And then there's the grief of human goodbyes, when a long friendship quietly drifts apart, when a child grows up and moves out of the house you shared, when you have to let someone go for the last time. Goodbye is hard. That hardness is real. It isn't a matter of mindset or attitude. You loved them, and so it hurts. You valued what you had, and so the absence aches. No one here is asking you to call that fine. Only this, gently. The time you shared was born from relationship. You were there, they were there, and something lived in the space between you. Within that connection, a version of you that loved and was loved came into being. Even when the form changes, that thread doesn't simply vanish. The way a fallen leaf becomes part of the soil, part of the roots, part of the tree that still stands. What passed between you lives on, somewhere inside who you are now. And then the strange grief of watching your own body age. You can't do what you used to do. Your eyes need more help than they once did. Rest takes longer to feel like rest. Each small shift is a reminder that yesterday's body and today's body are not quite the same, and that quiet difference can feel like losing yourself, piece by piece. But the Buddha once asked Nanda, looking at the fallen leaves, does this seem like something to mourn? We might ask ourselves the same. Is today's body worse than yesterday's, or is it simply different? An old tree has roots that a young tree hasn't grown yet. A waning moon carries a stillness that the full moon never quite holds. The body you are in right now may carry something that no earlier version of you had room for yet. I can't promise that realization will feel like relief, but the eye that sees only decline might, with time, learn to see something else, not instead of the loss, but alongside it. And sometimes that shift begins in the most ordinary moment. You reach for a jar on a high shelf and someone else lifts it down before you can ask. You sit with that for a second, the smallness of it, the quiet kindness, and something loosens that you didn't know was held tight. Perhaps what the body loses in one direction, it begins to receive from another. If there's just one thing to try today, only one, here it is. And it's small. Tonight, if you can, look up at the sky and find the moon. It doesn't have to be full. A thin crescent is fine. If clouds are hiding it, that's fine too. Just look at whatever shape the moon is holding tonight, and instead of thinking it's waning again, try this. Tonight it's this shape, not full as you might have hoped. Not the moon of some other night. Just tonight's moon in tonight's form, doing nothing but being exactly what it is. That's it. No effort required. Just receive it. This isn't a practice or a discipline. In the time of the Buddha, his disciples watched the moon the way people watch a calendar, as a way of feeling where they were in the month, in the season, in the slow movement of time, seeing, noticing. That attention itself was a form of what the teachings were pointing at. And if you have the space for one more thing, if today something felt like a loss, if something left your hands or slipped away, try asking yourself this quietly before you sleep. What was I holding on to? Was it the hope that someone close to you wouldn't change? That a situation would keep its shape? That the version of you from yesterday would still be here, unaltered today? You don't have to answer. You don't have to do anything with what comes up. Just notice. The moment you notice that your hand was gripping something, it very often loosens a little on its own. You don't have to force it open. Noticing is enough. I won't tell you that doing this will change everything. Your view of things might shift slowly, or it might not shift at all right away. But there is something in the act of standing under the moon, hands open, aware of what they've been holding, that feels by itself like time quietly well spent. And maybe that's the whole practice for tonight. Not a resolution, not a vow, but just a person in a sky, and something small loosening in the dark. Tonight, what is it that you are quietly holding in place, wishing it would not change? There's no need to answer right now. Just let the question settle somewhere in your chest, gently. Look at whatever is in that closed hand of yours. Simply seeing it, just that, may be enough for tonight. A monk once said that the longest journey he ever took was the 3 inches from his fist to his open palm. And perhaps that is where we begin, not with a dramatic letting go, but with the small loosening of a single finger. The river does not ask the stone's permission before moving around it. The falling leaf asks us to accept change, and we explored exactly that art of acceptance in an earlier teaching. The link is waiting for you in the description below. When a leaf falls to the ground, that is not the end of its story. The tree is already drawing something inward, deep into its roots, preparing for the spring it hasn't seen yet. Where the leaf was, light now reaches the earth, and in that light something small and green will eventually find its way up. I cannot tell you that change is not a loss. Sometimes it is. Goodbyes cut deep. What disappears can feel irreplaceable, and not everyone has the luxury of finding beauty in what they're going through right now. I know that. But here is one thing I can say. The moon is in the sky tonight. Whatever shape it's wearing, full, crescent, the thinnest sliver, it is still the moon. And you, whether you are somewhere on the other side of a letting go, or still in the middle of not being able to let go, you are here tonight, in whatever form this moment asks of you. Like tonight's moon, simply there. That is not a small thing. Thank you so much for being here with me today. If it's the season of falling leaves where you are, step outside tonight, even for just a moment, and look up. The cold air on your face is real. Your breath rising and disappearing. That is real too. And if clouds have gathered and you cannot see the moon at all, do not assume it has gone somewhere without you. A woman once told me she spent 3 winters convinced the light had left her for good. And then one morning, without ceremony, she found herself humming while she made tea. Pause. Whose face came to mind while you were listening today? One story a day. In a week your words will change. In a month your eyes will change. In a year the same world will look completely different.